And that couldn't be truer than today, when the left seems to be running around saying, we got nothing in our Christmas present, and we were expecting something. We were expecting a kaboom. Where's the kaboom?
Well, then you're obviously not watching MSNBC. Because they are reading into the redactions. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I've pointed this out before. It's throughout. Resistance is futile. Modern reporting in the era of Trump is journalists and lawyers going on TV announcing their dream journals, on live TV. The number of stories that have been shot down just about the Russian collusion, forget the other slanders that have been told about Trump, and that they'll all go off on. I think CNN too. I'm more of an MSNBC gal. They'll go off and on and on and on about, well, if this is true, it's impeachable. Hey, isn't that impeachable? And wait a second. Now, if Trump robbed a bank and killed his mother, then we could impeach him, right? Right? That's what TV is like these days. And you would think after the utter humiliation of Bill Barr, Attorney General Bill Barr's initial report, which was quite obviously perfectly accurate, you would think they would learn their lesson and just think, we're looking kind of crazy. We want to beat this guy. How about we try a different tact? Like the one I keep suggesting to them. How about the fact that the president isn't fulfilling any of his promises? You want to go after him on that? Could I auction this point off? It's going really cheap right now. But it's pretty boring. I mean, for people listening, I don't think you particularly have to read it. It's everything you already knew, and then you have the nuts on MSNBC and I assume CNN adding their speculations and wishful thinking in the interstices of the redacted marks.
Which is, I mean, this is where it starts to drive me crazy. Because, look, there are lots of things where I read a report and I think, gosh, I wish it went farther here or farther there, but it doesn't, so it doesn't. So now their tactic is, well, we're going to say this is what we hoped it had been or wish what we could find. Oh, no, they're outright
lying about what's in it. I was mostly just reading the report, at least for the periods of the day I was spending carrying for 5 seconds about the report. I was reading it, watched only a little bit of MSNBC, and no, it's just stated straight out, as it always is. Well, I think what Mueller said here, I mean, one of the big ones, and I haven't watched any TV for a few hours now, maybe they've attached themselves to a new one, but one of the big points they keep claiming, which is something that, was sort of possible back before you had the entire report dropped in your lap, which was that Mueller, in his report, has laid out, basically did the same thing that Comey did with Hillary, has laid out all the grounds for a crime, but it's only because he believes the Justice Department memo that a sitting president cannot be indicted. That's why he said he didn't find a crime. Well, that's just perfectly false. They can keep saying that all they want.
Well, and by the way, isn't it the case? I saw a couple of them saying it last night, and I said, hold on, it's not that they can't. They have a DOJ policy that says it is our policy not to do it. I totally
think you can indict the president.
Sure you can. Now, I also understand why there's a policy against doing it under all but the most extraordinary circumstances, and we're not there. But to say, well, the reason Bob Mueller spent 2 years wasting his time and $35 million, the White House now says, on this investigation is so he could say, gosh, I would have indicted this guy, but I didn't realize he was president, and so I won't.
No, that is demonstrably false from reading the report. Also, they've been very upset that Barr, at one point in his press conference when he was releasing it. I mean, they have so many stupid lawyers on TV, or maybe some of them aren't stupid. They're just zealots, and they will make things up, and they like sitting on TV in a nice warm studio after having their hair and makeup done. So, okay, this is what I got to say to keep these bookings coming. So I'll just say it. I mean, I really think that is what's happening because it is so monumentally stupid. They were complaining about, among other things, Barr, I mean, watch his press conference. It's pretty short. He only
watched the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's only 10, 15 minutes.
The president was angry?
He shouldn't have said anything about how Trump was upset that he was being falsely accused.
No, but why? I mean, when I saw that, and I've covered so many...
Let me finish this point.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is an important legal point. This isn't just, of course anybody is upset if they're... The point is everything... And it's everything that Mueller looked at, and that the media have been going off on and on over. all of the acts that they claim are an obstruction of justice are within the powers of the president. So I've said before, I've said it many times, the president, absolutely, it's his right to fire a prosecutor, fire the director of the FBI. Tell the FBI, I don't want you wasting any more resources on this investigation. He is the president. And by the way, Clinton and Obama did it a lot. Did it a whole lot. The idea that a president is not allowed to tell the FBI director or the DOJ, don't investigate this. The only way that becomes corrupt is if there is some underlying legal violation. There are a few exceptions to that are so not relevant here. You can interfere with an investigation even if you didn't do anything wrong, but come on, that's when it matters that you have the president here. So to say that the president was upset about this, the other or was storming around his Oval Office, for example, saying somebody's got to fire Mueller. You got to fire Mueller. This is really ticking me off. This is ruining my presidency. Fire Mueller. Fire Mueller. The explanation for that is he was being falsely accused. I mean, that partially explains it, but he's allowed to do it. So you have to prove the corrupt intent. It is very hard to prove intent in any case when the explanation for him saying that is he's innocent. It's impossible to prove. No. He didn't mind being falsely accused at all. He does it all the time. It made him very happy.
Well, and can you imagine, I know Obama had the cool, calm, blah, 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 but I imagine behind the scenes, if he had been falsely accused of a crime, he'd have been just as apoplectic. So I thought it was worthwhile to hear the president was angry about being falsely accused. But did he break the law? No, he didn't break the law. Did he obstruct justice? No, he didn't obstruct justice. Well, then what do you want? And as you say, he had the legal authority. People forget about that. They say, my goodness, the DOJ was actually talking to the White House about the report. Well, let me see. I said to one of my colleagues in the newsroom last night as I was leaving, I said, gee, isn't the DOJ in the executive department? And isn't Donald Trump the head of the executive department? Why can't he talk to the DOJ? What's wrong with that? And they don't. All they do is they say he did this and make it sound bad.
Nothing was retracted. Or redacted by the president, although, he waived his privilege.
Yeah.
So they got to see it, the White House, I guess the White House lawyers, I think they got to see it, and don't hold me to this, like 24 hours before it was released publicly today. And the White House lawyers looked at it to see if they wanted anything crossed out because of executive privilege and actual privilege, and they said, no, although we have this privilege, in the interest of transparency, we are requesting no redactions. You won't be hearing that on MSNBC.
Well, believe me, I was making a big deal about it earlier on the show, Ann, because I said he had the choice to do this. And I've literally even asked some reporters I know, do you know what executive privilege is? And they say, well, I guess I do. And I said, no, it's when the boss calls you into a radio station like where I work and says, hey, I have to fire one person today. Out of these three people, who's the least useful? If you say, well, boss, if I tell you that and then the whole staff is going to find out who I tagged as the one to get fired, it's going to be really bad for me, so I'm not giving you an opinion. That is a simple example of executive privilege. The president has that on steroids because he may be calling in saying, if we run this military operation, how many are we going to lose? And he has to get unvarnished truth from his advisors. And if his advisors say, I'm not going to say that because it'll all come out publicly later on. Same thing with the grand jury. And it's a pleasure, as always. Ann Coulter, great syndicated columnist, the author of Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Its Collective Mind. If you're a legal